You can holler, you can applaud, you can scream, you can do anything you want. I can't hear you anyway.
You're listening to Salt Lake Dirt. I'm your host, Kyler Bingham. Today, I welcome filmmaker Cameron S. Mitchell to the show. Cameron's documentary short film, Elsa, will be playing at the 2023 Slamdance Film Festival. Elsa is about a deafblind fencer and author. Incredible documentary. I'm a fan of Cameron's. I love his work. I did an interview with him a couple years ago about his film, The Co-op, which was one of my favorite short films from 2021. Definitely one that stayed with me. So I was thrilled to find out he had a new one playing up at Slamdance this year. Elsa will be playing as part of the Unstoppable Shorts section up at Slamdance, and you can view it Friday, January 20th at 7:15 at the Treasure Mountain Inn up in Park City, or if you are in Salt Lake, Wednesday, January 25th at 5:10 p.m. at the Student Union Theater at the University of Utah. Also, between January 23rd and the 29th, you can watch all Slamdance films on demand if you have a Slamdance channel subscription, which is $7.99 a month. Okay, let's get to it and talk about Elsa with Cameron S. Mitchell on the Salt Lake Dirt podcast. Well, yeah, Cameron, thanks so much for joining me today. This is exciting to speak with you finally. I've been a fan of your work for a couple of years since I saw The Co-op. And then when you reached out and told me you had a new film, Elsa, playing at Slamdance 2023, which will be in person this year, I was super excited. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a huge honor to, this will be the first film festival I think that I've ever shown at twice.
Oh, wow.
So for it to be Slamdance is just mind blowing.
Yeah, you don't hear about that often. Like that's really amazing. And in like such a short, like just it was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, because after the Co-op got in, I joined Slamdance as a programmer and a juror for the next year. And then, to try and go for it, I had to recuse myself to submit again. And so it was taking a gamble. And also the producer, Julia Munez, had to recuse herself as well, because she had also joined Slamdance as a programmer. And, we were kind of like, we're going to go for it. We're going to, pull back for a sec and try to come back to it as filmmakers. And it's just so exciting to get to come back, and now in person, because, as in 2020, it was remote. And everything got canceled. Even they had a Joshua Tree event that got canceled. So, we're excited to get to go to Park City for the first time in person as filmmakers.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. It's such a blast. I think that's what I felt so bad for filmmakers at all the different festivals I covered. That they got into a great festival, but it was a detachment there on some level because you were, just looking at a screen in your where you live. But I think, at least with me, and I've talked to other people who cover films, I think one thing I really got from that pandemic era, couple festivals, is I got really focused on the short films where I hadn't really been. I've always liked short films, but it was always kind of randomly in whatever was paired with the feature I was seeing at the time. So this, kind of opened the door for me being more aware of short films and wanting to see, like seeking them out as I hadn't really done before. So I think I'm excited that we'll be in person, but then they're also doing the virtual component as well. So people can, watch everything on demand. So you get, the best of both worlds right there. So, I guess just let's start talking about the film itself, Elsa. It's a PBS documentary short, and it's super fascinating. Deafblind fencer and author. I'm very curious how the film came about, how you met Elsa, and how you got her to participate in this project.
Yeah. Well, it was very serendipitous how it all kind of came together because you know me, you're familiar with my work. I kind of try to subvert expectations in the realm of film and in cinematography through the lens of disability. As someone who's grown up, I grew up in a family of disabled people. We call it an interdependent family. And you know, my parents are disability studies professors, so I kind of from a young age I was being put in their films and books, and you know, having those types of conversations at the dinner table. So it's just this way of looking at the world that's kind of like thoroughly ingrained in me as a filmmaker, and I can't help but, you know, think of different ways to express that and portray it. um so, you know, when I'm a member of several organizations like disability film organizations, and FWD doc is one of them. And there was an opportunity with a very tight timeline to make a film for PBS as a part of their Helen Keller project. And they wanted to do something different. They, you know, didn't, you know, they basically the way I pitched it was, you know, we only know of Helen Keller as like the only deafblind individual that ever existed for some whatever reason,
Right. Yeah.
or another. And so we wanted to get a new role model in there. We wanted to look at someone else who could model like the myriad different ways that deaf blindness can be manifested. Because I think that's one, you know, really interesting thing about deaf blindness is it's the intersection of deafness and blindness. So there's literally like, you know, it's like snowflakes. There's no two, you know, versions of deaf blindness that are exactly alike. And, you know, getting introduced to Elsa was just like, you know, that was the bottom, like the main goal. But then, you know, Elsa is also in disability studies. And so her and I were just having all of these incredibly philosophical, complex conversations about disability representation and portrayal, and macro concepts of how disability applies to the world, as well as micro concepts. And so that's kind of how the film Elsa was born. Was, you know, Elsa didn't really know where I was going with it. She just kind of trusted me. And you know, we had a conversation. We had several conversations, and you know, we flew out to Seattle and we shot it in a weekend.
Oh, wow.
We shot it in 2 days.
Wow.
And we did the interview on the second day, which is unusual because usually you want to do the interview first, you know, so you know what you're filming. But you know, we had a preliminary phone call with Elsa, Julia, and I. And, you know, we basically got to work and started writing a script, like inspired by that phone call. Like, okay, what would this film look like? So we were kind of like constructing it and then shooting to concept, and hoping that, you know, this was going to match, that our conversation would hit all of those points. And it did, you know. And I think that speaks kind of volumes about, because you always hear like disability isn't a monolith, and you know, no two disabled people are alike, or no two people even are alike. But like there was a shared experience there, a shared creative experience, and also just how we went through disability as a creative endeavor. You know, it wasn't a sob story. It wasn't something that was supposed to create, you know, just apathy. And you know, that's what I think Elsa, the film, succeeds at the most, is it plants you in that position of Elsa's, you know, perspective in her life.
I love that. And like, you know, you're in your director's statement, you said something to the effect of like you want to represent disabled individuals without fetishizing them. And, you know, I think that's just great, because and with this film and with the co-op, it just kind of unravels like a whole new perspective that I think is so important for people to see. And especially, like, you know, you grew up around this world, so you're very hyper aware of it. And I think, you know, from your films and then other films I've been seeing, like over even just the last few years, really feel like everything's kind of moving in the right direction. And yeah, I think like the fact that PBS was, open to having something like this. I mean, they always do great things, but still, this is just outstanding. And very cool that it's at Slamdance again. I'm just kind of curious about your background as far as a filmmaker goes. Like, when did you become like where are you from? When did you start getting interested into film? I noticed you're the director, but you're also the DP and producer. So the DP part was what interested me. You don't see a ton of people and who pull it off well, I should say. So I'm curious about just when did you get interested in film, where you're from, and how you kind of got to where you are now. I saw, I think on Instagram yesterday, you posted a story where you're getting prepared for the cold weather here up in Park City, and I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, you're getting prepared, and I think, oh yeah, that's what it was. 10 years of working on films, and it's just kind of cool that stuff is really happening right now. It seems like. So yeah, tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there were a lot of superlatives in there. And thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, it's funny, like, in the rigmarole of all of this, it's like, you can get glimpses of people, right? But you never truly fully know them. So this is another example of that. So yeah, I was born in Marquette, Michigan. And, for the first, I would say 8-9 years of my life, I grew up in, the UP in very snowy territory. And I was so like, the Michigan woods and the snow were like kind of like, the canvas for my creativity. Like I remember once when I was very young, I built an igloo underground. So I built like an underground tunnel that led into
that's awesome.
Open space. And I sent electricity down there. I like
Whoa.
wired like a TV and yeah, very dangerous.
I'm like, wow.
But yeah, so I kind of always had this like creative spark, and kind of working with what was in front of me. And I think that naturally carried into the realm of documentary film and also just cinematography and visually lensing things. I mentioned my folks put me in their films. So like there's a film they have called A World Without Bodies, where we go to Germany and we visit a Nazi death camp, a T4 center, and you see me and my sister there, and we're just kind of along for the ride, and my folks also wrote about me in one of their most famous pieces, Narrative Prosthesis, where they use my obsession with the toy soldier as an example of like disability as prosthesis, because the tin soldier has a disability, and that kind of moves the narrative forward of that piece. So it's like kind of crazy how integrated my life is with this. And I think I have my parents to thank a lot for just like keeping me in that space. I remember, after Michigan, we moved to Chicago, and we went to, we were always participating in like these protests and things like that. And we went to a Jerry Lewis protest event because disabled people weren't very happy with how Jerry Lewis was portraying them and children's disabled bodies, and basically profiteering off of them and not using that money for anything good or that the community actually wanted.
Oh, wow.
And so I was at the front of the picket line with like 20 wheelchairs around me, and I was just this little kid. And the security guard pointed at me, and he was like, I want you. I'm going to get you. Now, that was like a big moment for me of just being like, okay, I can no longer just be an observer and a ride along in this. I can't just show up and support. I have to say something. And I must have been like 9 years old then.
Wow.
So, fast forward to, we were an academic family, so we kind of moved around to whatever university my folks taught at. And we landed in Philly, and Temple University. And so that's where I got my undergrad degrees, both in film and visual anthropology.
Wow.
And so I studied moving camera there, under Michael Kudemeyer. I also got to meet Garrett Brown, the inventor of the Steadicam, through a project that I directed for the Philadelphia Film Office through Temple. And that kind of set the gears in motion. Because I remember being a freshman in college, and like I was undeclared, and then or first I was declared as psychology, and then I went undeclared, and then I took a couple electives in visual anthropology, and I was like, this is a really fascinating field. And it kind of, again, resonated with this, like, wanting to just observe what was in front of you and to really stay in the moment of wherever it is that I was, and understand it and dissect it. I just always had that kind of feeling. And film really allowed me to slow things down, right? And so I went to India as a part of one of the visual anthropology electives I took. And I made one of my first documentary films, Mehul the Music Man, which followed a sitar teacher who practiced Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, a very different person, very unusual and off the grid. And I came back and I declared, visual anthropology. And then I also started taking film classes. And, as I mentioned, like moving camera, different things pushed me in that way. And then when I graduated in 2013, and that's why I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, because I see that moment as being like pushed into the quote unquote real world or whatever.
Yeah.
And, not just being a student, not being, just like a kid of two disability studies professors. I started freelancing, and I've been full-time freelance ever since. So this year marks a decade that I've been in the industry working as a local 600, member of this International Cinematographers Guild, and, as a camera operator, as a DP. I've gone so many places since that moment. But yeah, that's kind of like my backstory. And then you can look up my IMDb to see all the things that I've worked.
There's a lot of stuff there. Where are you based out of right now?
So I'm in upstate New York in Albany.
Okay.
So the cold weather is familiar.
Okay, good. That's what I always like. People always ask me, like, well, what do we got to do? Like, what the LA people, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I actually had a question for you. Like, so do people just do Q&As in their like jackets and snow boots? And stuff?
That's the kind of nice thing that, like, it kind of levels the playing field. Especially at Slamdance, everyone's kind of dressed like how I'm dressed right now, like a beanie or, just their, you don't really see people dress up, which is I think it's kind of a cool thing about the two festivals up there. But yeah, Slamdance, it's incredible. It's just because Sundance, I love Sundance, but it has become so big. It's really difficult to get around to the different theaters in Park City, and then there's a lot in Salt Lake City now. But it's a lot of waiting, a lot of like, you don't know, there's so many people. But Slamdance, you go up there, it's just at one location. Filmmakers, audience members are all kind of intermingling. Press is all there, so it's like you really get to meet like the best people I've met at these things is up in that one like concentrated area up where Slamdance is. So it's very cool.
At the Treasure Mountain Inn?
At the Treasure Mountain Inn, yeah. It's a blast. I guess we kind of touched on it, but like, is there anything, like, what are you looking forward to most about this experience? I know it's, maybe not, it's hard and maybe not the best to project, but just like, how can you not? Like, it's a huge deal. What are you looking forward to the most? What are you excited about?
Well, you mentioned, it's only a figment in the imagination of my filmmaker brain what Slam Dance is like
Yeah.
at this point in person.
Hmm.
But this year is a really important year for Unstoppable, the program that my film is in, because it's the first ever in-person screening of Unstoppable, because Unstoppable was literally birthed during COVID. It's just how it worked out.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. I don't think I
so
knew that.
yeah. So, and also, the filmmakers really fought to make sure that we were in Park City. Like Park City is not accessible from what
Hmm.
I hear.
Yeah.
It's icy, it's cold, the altitude.
Yeah.
There's a myriad of things. And so, I think Slam Dance really approached this head on, and they were like, you know what, like yeah, like this is and this is kind of like I've always looked at it like this is what disability activism is, like
Hmm.
literally traveling places with my family is a problem always.
Hmm.
So you kind of just go to places you're not supposed to be, expecting pushback,
Right.
expecting difficulty, because
Interesting.
otherwise it's like, what are you going to do? Stay home,
Right.
watch it from your computer. And so I think the Park City, the fact that Unstoppable has screenings in Park City and Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
that because there's also screenings. So Elsa will screen opening night on the 20th, in Treasure Mountain Inn at like 7 p.m.
Hmm.
And then we also have a screening at the University of Utah in the Student Union Theater on January 25th at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And so like that University of Utah is fully accessible,
Yeah.
and it's not as dangerous and rigorous as Park City is. So I appreciate you mentioning that the Salt Lake venues are
Hmm.
getting attention and getting used, because I think that ultimately, like, the future of this is that it expands beyond
Hmm.
just Park City. We can have it all, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, why not?
No,
Uh,
that's great. That's great. Like because I've been going to the festival off and on for, I would say, 20 years, and it's always been up there with Sundance. When I first started going to Sundance when I was just like junior, senior in high school, I could park at one of the hotels near Main Street and just walk to everything. And now I have to, I drive up from Salt Lake, drive up the canyon, and I park at a park and ride that's only a few miles away, but it takes a full hour to get up to Slamdance from the park and ride. So I have to like plan all this time to make sure I'm getting there. So it's slowly become more, yeah, like inaccessible, over time. So just because of Park City's not designed to accommodate that many people. You'll see, but it's still incredible. It's a blast. And like I said, I love that it's kind of like it's on Main Street, but it's like cut off at the very end. Like there's basically nothing beyond Treasure Mountain Inn that you would walk up to. So everything is kind of downhill. But yeah, it's icy. So
should I bring a sled? Would
bring a sled.
help?
There well, we'll go ice blocking. That's a big thing here in Utah. You get on an ice block and
Like
cruise down a hill. uh, yeah, I'm super excited. I think I'm going to be able to make the University of Utah event because I live pretty close to the U.
oh,
So
awesome.
I'm gonna try to get up there, but I'll be up there opening weekend up in Park City as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and I think you're gonna have a blast. You're gonna meet so many incredible people up there. So this is like, yeah, super exciting. Anything else you want to add as we kind of wrap up here? I'm excited that we went longer than I had planned, but I think this is perfect because we're gonna put you on the radio show version tomorrow. It fits in just perfect, so I'll send you links to all that.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, anything you want to add? Yeah. So Elsa opening night Friday, January 20th at 7:15, Treasure Mountain Inn, and then it's in Salt Lake City. Is that Wednesday, January 25th?
Yeah, sounds right.
Okay.
I need to get the days of the week
I'll
straight here.
I'll put the link. Yeah, I know, man. I'll put links to it, and yeah. So yeah, anything else as we kind of finish up? This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would just say, like, and we can pick this up in another conversation, but I've always appreciated your attention to detail in cinematography and film history.
Well, thanks.
And Elsa is very much a piece that thinks about where the camera is and how the camera interacts with the subject. And so I would love to have a longer conversation someday about the evolution of camera placement and movement, because there's so much there.
Yeah, that would be great, man. So either like, just you and me over Zoom or in person, or I would love to have you back on the show. We could do a full hour and have you on and talk about stuff like that. That would be fun.
Because I've been thinking, because my top film of this year is Nope, Jordan Peele's Nope.
Yeah,
and how he places the UFO perspective in that film.
Yeah,
and just like how ingrained it is in film history. It made me think, like, wow, there's kind of like an homage to like 8.5 here, and Fellini, and the way that the camera will just float above traffic and come out of the universe.
Right.
And I'm sure that some of that was intentional, but like I was kind of like thinking about that while shooting Elsa, like, where can I put a camera, and also never holding Elsa up, like always letting her carry. You should have seen, like, some of the BTS of this is great. I am like running my ass off to keep up with this deafblind woman who is using her, her cane, and just like, rolling through Seattle, which is incredibly hilly, and picturesque and beautiful and rainy and all of these things. And really was thinking about, first of all, like shooting slow motion, making sure the camera was nimble, even the lighting was nimble. Our primary light for the fencing stuff was an aperture 300D on a Menace arm, so not easy to set up.
No.
But once it's up, you can kind of move it around wherever it needs to be. And those were kind of like, there were cinematography thoughts as well as accommodation thoughts, and another thing that was interesting about the project, and I really haven't told anyone else this, I'm just telling you this because I know you can have. No,
I love this stuff. I love it.
Yeah. But the uplighting on the walls, like if you notice, there's like this reddish uplighting in the background in the fencing scenes. That was in part for her, because the way her eyes work and the way she explained it to me, it's like, if there's not enough light, it kind of is like the aperture breaks on your camera, it was like a visibility guide, and I was able to figure out how to design that stylistically as well to make the fencing, really engrossing and so
that's wild. I'm gonna rewatch it tonight. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, great.
But we could talk for hours here. So
I'm sure we could. Yeah. So you're welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you on down the road, and maybe we could talk about like the actual Slamdance experience, because it's amazing, but it's chaotic. So many people. You're kind of disjointed in a good way. But yeah, man, I will see you up there, and I'll look for you. I'll make sure we meet in person. But thank you so much for being on the show, Cameron S. Mitchell. This was a pleasure. The film is Elsa. I'll put links to everything so people can, find out where to see it. And good luck at Slamdance. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Looking forward to meeting you, maybe grabbing a drink or something.
Absolutely. No, that'd be great. All right. Take care.
Yeah, you too.